Absolutely. So now we're going to move on into our next segment as we start up. Are you playing Orlando City this time around?
Oh yeah, we're doing a little
Oh, yeah.
Orlando City because this next game we are going to have some soccer talk in this next within this next game. So we're going to get to really talk about these Orlando City Lions, which I think is going to be a lot of fun to talk about because they're really starting to turn it around.
We really are. But before we get into them, we're actually going to spend time on one of our favorite topics here on Friend Stream Sports, and that's college football. And as we look at our college football, I want to go through and do as we always do and talk about the top six because there was a lot of shakeup this week with Alabama losing. Top six in college football right now are Georgia, Iowa, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, Alabama at 5, Ohio State. I'd like to point this out here. Here are some things to digest from the top 25 that I just don't like is happening. First of all, the number undefeated Michigan Wolverines are sitting all the way down at number 8, and uh, Ohio State is currently ranked higher than Oregon. And when I say Oregon lost to a Stanford team, that's not the Stanford team of 10 years ago. To me, that doesn't rationalize and make sense. I think this college football top 25, while we always wait for the playoff poll, is the true measure of the sport. I think right now you could just honestly put Georgia at number one, and then you're just playing Yahtzee. You're just putting all the dice in a cup and rolling them, and that's the order that they've been put into. So this lineup for me fires me up, and I am not very much in support of it, Connor. I think the sport is a little confused right now.
Well, the big thing that I think is causing the confusion is I think that you know within the Power Five conferences, you kind of bake in, one of those conferences not being as good. Um, you know, even though everyone likes to throw the ACC under the bus, it's like, okay, at least there was Clemson. At least there was Clemson there to kind of be the standard bearer within the top 25. And I just think that, as Clemson has struggled, and really no one from the ACC has stepped up as even Florida State got to continue their winning ways against North Carolina team that preseason was sort of a dark horse kind of a team. Um, there's some. I just think that the pollsters don't really quite know what to do because, I was listening to some radio this morning and they were talking about the potential of two Big Ten teams in the playoff. I know we always talk about two SEC schools, but you could see two Big Ten teams in the playoff if Oklahoma, this tightrope walk that they're doing, if they fall just once and you have a undefeated Iowa team and a one-loss Ohio State team that comes on hot, you could definitely see, two Big Ten schools vying for those playoff positions.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you think about it, it's wild to believe that 50% of the top 10 is the Big Ten Conference. It makes you think that even though we're in 2021, we're looking at a top 25 poll of the year, like, gosh, it feels like we're looking at 1912 ball, Connor. You and I are both historical lovers of the game, and the Big Ten used to reign supreme a long time ago. Not as much anymore. So it's interesting to see how the arc of the sport has changed. I think it will be wild to watch. Of course, the game everyone's going to pay attention to this weekend is Georgia versus Kentucky. But I think there will be some other big things to sort of see how it all sort of shakes down. I am interested, of course, to see how these big rivalry games are going to go this year. You have, of course, all the rivalry games coming into Thanksgiving, but there's a lot of trap games on the schedule for this weekend. Oregon plays California. It could very much what goes sideways for Oregon and mess up their rankings. Michigan State plays Indiana. Indiana has been no slouch. Um, Also sitting out there on the schedule, besides Georgia, Kentucky, which could be a little bit of a wild one, you have, you got some other just notable games. Ole Miss is playing Tennessee. They're trying to build some traction. Oklahoma, like you said, is on that tightrope with TCU this weekend.
And
So
that's always a tough out. The T in TCU is standing for tough out, and even though this might not be one of Gary Patterson's strongest teams, I mean Oklahoma better be ready to play. because Gary Patterson is going to make sure his boys are ready to play. So, I think as it stands right now, we're all in Georgia's world, and that's about it. I don't necessarily see a loss on their schedule unless Florida catches them on a bad day for Georgia and a great day for Florida. But the way that Kirby Smart gets his players ready to roll, I really don't see that happening. But
Yeah, definitely. Once Georgia gets through the month of October after playing Kentucky and Florida, they have Missouri, Tennessee, Charleston Southern, and Georgia Tech. So you're right. If Georgia gets through October undefeated, after that, not saying it's easy street for them, it's downhill, but it's definitely they're going to just run into teams where they're going to do what they've been doing, where they're just going to out-athletic everybody else because that team, that's a big group of boys they've got up there between the hedges in Athens, Georgia.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Just the players that they had, the people that they have. I remember when I played football at Wheaton College, our offensive coordinator, whenever there'd be a team that we would play that just had a lot of good players, he would say, he's from North Carolina, and he'd be like, now they got some people now. So whenever you look at Georgia on film, no doubt does Georgia have people. My other offensive coordinator would used to say, they got some good cats, which I always found funnier than they got some people. Because I just imagine cats in football gear doing their thing. But I digress. Rutledge, Alabama's number 5. What happened to them this past weekend?
Alabama lost in the death to the throat kick that always sort of deflates every college football season. It makes you not even want to clean up from your watch party at your house when that kick goes through. That's a big stinger. Side note, other score update live right now in college football. The Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns are beating the App State Mountaineers 20-3, which is a very big upset going on there in the Sun Belt Conference. I just want to point out that live score update. But Alabama, they just got a little outmanned, a little outhandled, a little outmanned and handled. Jimbo Fisher becomes the first assistant to beat Nick Saban. I think, Connor, we can go out there and both say that we're not surprised that this happened. Last week, I know you especially, or last year, got very much as to be a 12th man for Texas A&M and a lot of support. To see them come down to a last-minute field goal only kind of shows the big overreactions is the powers are tipping in the SEC West. The underreactions are they just caught Alabama on a bad day, but Alabama never had the lead. So, very interesting to see exactly what is going to happen in the long term. I think, though, that Alabama, with the loss that they had falling to 5, especially right now, is too far. I think I do not put an Alabama team, even though one loss, below Oklahoma. I do think they should be below Cincinnati because of Cincinnati's statement win to Notre Dame, and Cincinnati's been consistent. But I don't think Bama deserves to fall all the way down to 5.
Yeah, I think I guess the other piece of that pie, though, is A&M, they started the season ranked really high, but this was an unranked team. Take the 95,000 fighting Texas Aggies out of there, and you see number 1 versus a team that does not have a number by them. And, I think that Alabama, needs to kind of fall a little bit. Now, will they lose another game? I would be shocked if they lost another game. But, there's still a lot of football to be played. I think Oklahoma's got that tightrope act, and I could very well see a one-loss Alabama playing an undefeated Georgia to potentially create the situation of the play-in for the playoffs. So really excited to see the rest of this college football season shake out. And as I always like to say, and I like to say it louder and louder as the season seemingly draws closer and closer to its end, there's still a lot of ball left to be played.